is really worth, I'm Spencer Callahan. I'd like to help.
Spencer Callahan is the one to see. Call 387-2323.
LA filing number 16-7970.
WNXX Jackson, KNXX Donaldsonville, and WDGL HD2 Baton Rouge. This hour brought to you by Spencer Callahan Injury Lawyers. LA 21 12681. Offices in Baton Rouge. Now, the Hunt Palmer Show.
Yes! I feel like I've been waiting for this my entire life.
You're listening to the Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Jolly good fun. Jolly good.
Locking down the middle of the day.
America's favorite daytime fun show.
Live from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studio. This is Hunt Palmer.
Welcome in. Hunt Palmer coming to you from Mercedes-Benz Baton Rouge studio downtown in the capital city on this Tuesday. Hope the work week is off to a good start. Appreciate you hanging out with us here on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. It is a full Tuesday here. Lots and lots to get to. Got Jacob Beck and Cassie Spazzali back there on the ones and twos. LSU baseball wins last night. Is Derek Carr tradable? Talk a little bit about that. Glen West, go 24/7, talking hoops and baseball with us in 30 minutes. I got to preview LSU and Tennessee tonight from the PMAC. Sharie Aack, talking all things Saints. So loads and loads to do over the next 2 hours. So lock us in here on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. We start the same way we start each and every day with our Genesis opening drive.
It's time for Hunt's opening drive, presented by Genesis of Baton Rouge.
Tigers win last night over Nicholls. Jay Johnson was exceedingly happy with the way that LSU performed last night, and I think for good reason. In a 7-inning game, LSU scored 13 runs, got 10 hits. William Schmidt was really, really good. Maverick Rizzi did his job as well. I thought that for the most part, LSU was very, very good against a decent Nicholls team. And they came in 5-2. I wouldn't suggest they played the Dodgers, the Padres, and the Braves, but they came in winning some baseball games, and LSU took care of them with relative ease. I thought there were some real positives. Let's just start with William Schmidt, who got the ball in his first start as an LSU Tiger, and that went about as well as you could have hoped. LSU went into the game giving the ball to William Schmidt, not necessarily thinking in terms of innings. They were purely thinking in terms of pitch count. And I could see a situation where an amped-up young player tries to do a little bit too much in his first career start and jacks the pitch count up, and even though they wanted him to go 60 pitches, he only gets through 3 innings. That wasn't the case for William Schmidt. He cruised through the middle portion of his start and ended up getting almost through 5 innings at 60 pitches. 4 2/3. He hit 60 pitches on the nose. They got him out of there, and Jay Johnson was thrilled with that. Keep in mind, in the first inning, Nicholls gets a couple of hits right out of the chute. That can be unnerving. I mean, how often has William Schmidt given up a couple of hits right out of the chute in the last 5 years of his pitching life? I certainly don't think in a district game last year for Catholic, many times he opened the game with a pair of line drive hits. Like that hasn't happened to him very much. So for him to respond to that by getting a couple outs, and then you get a double play ball to Tanner Reeves at third base, and he kicks it, and you get no outs. Like that, all of that could be very unnerving to a freshman pitcher, and William Schmidt just got up there and threw strikes. He did not walk anyone in this game. 4 2/3 innings, no walks. That's huge. I don't know that his command was perfect. He did miss a little bit with the fastball. Yes, he threw 3 straight wild pitches with Aaron Beatty back there that played it a run, and that doesn't look great. But that's just a part of the outing. And to me, the entirety of the outing was really, really positive for William Schmidt. My favorite thing outside of responding to the adversity for Schmidt in the game was that he was able to throw his curveball for strikes like almost whenever he wanted to. And that's something that not all young pitchers do. A lot of times when you're in high school, especially if you throw as hard as Schmidt does, you don't really have to command your breaking ball. Kids just swing at it. And you can't do that in a showcase. You can't do that in fall ball against LSU, but you can rely on that your junior and senior year in high school, throwing it 90-plus miles an hour, up to 95 miles an hour as a senior. the location of your breaking ball isn't that important in terms of just winning that game. It is when you get up here. And he commanded it very, very well. I really liked what I saw from William Schmidt, really for the entirety of his outing. You move on offensively, and I thought the best thing about the offense was Jared Jones's night in totality. This is going to have to be Jared Jones's model every single game. And it's hard to mentally stick to, but what he did last night is exactly what LSU has to have him do. He drew 2 walks because teams are going to, generally speaking, try to steer clear of him. And you can't chase. You've got to accept the fact that you're going to walk some. And he walked twice. They made a mistake to him. He hit it into the bleachers. That's what he's got to do. When they make that mistake, hit it in the bleachers. He did. They made a better pitch to him with a runner in scoring position later in the game, and he lined it into right center field. Not trying to reach out and hook it, not trying to lift and launch everything. I mean, we know he can hit the ball out of the ballpark to right field, but he didn't try to do that. He just hit a hard line drive back through the box for an RBI hit. And then his last swing of the night went 403 feet to dead center field and was dropped at the warning track, but it was a sac fly, and it was a run-scoring and positive at-bat. Every at-bat he had was really good. And I don't think he's going to hit 27, 28 home runs this year because I don't think teams are going to pitch to him enough to allow that to happen. If he does, great. But I don't think that's going to happen. I think he's more likely to hit 18 or 20. But if he walks and his on-base percentage is really high and he doesn't try to do too much and hit some line drives the other way, and then when they do make the mistake, drive it out of the ballpark, that is awesome to see. Speaking of awesome to see, Stephen Milam was great in the game last night. Jay Johnson mentioned in the postgame that Milam was a little shook up after Saturday. Keep in mind that when LSU made that comeback in game 1 of that doubleheader and scored 4 runs in the 9th and had the tying run at 3rd and had the winning run at 1st, and Milam popped up like that hurt him. And it's good that he cares that much. But he gets in there, goes to work, comes back out in the next opportunity, and he was good on Saturday evening, and he was really good in the game last night. Milam was 2 for 3. He drove in 5 runs. He hit that home run right-handed. He hit a line drive back through the box, left-handed for a single. Kind of did his thing from both sides of the plate, which I thought was really very good for him. Other things to look at as far as the offensive side goes, Chris Stanfield goes 2 for 4 in the game out of the 9-hole. He scored 2 runs, showed his speed. Ball got loose on the infield, and he turned that into a run-scoring play. Jay Johnson said after the game, like, I thought they might throw him out, and then I realized that Stanfield running out there, he does run exceptionally well, and he hasn't taken offense to not being in the leadoff spot for the last couple of games. He's just showed up and swung the bat, and he hit the ball very, very hard last night on a couple of different occasions, so I thought that was a very positive thing. This is kind of a big picture thing and not necessarily anything to do with last night, but Jay Johnson talked about this after the game. He likes the platoon of Ashton Larson and Ethan Fry. Maybe that's in right field, maybe that's in left field, maybe that's at DH. But last night, Larson starts the game at DH. He draws a walk, scores a run. Later on, Ethan Fry comes into the game. He gets a hit in 2 at-bats, goes 1 for 2. And he said this after the game, like, I feel like if you put Larson and Fry in advantageous situations for themselves in a platoon, that combination becomes a high-level player. He used the term All-American. I'm not going to quite go there yet. An All-American, that's high praise. But a solid everyday SEC player. And it's all rooted in, as a metaphor, the Moneyball thing, where it's like we can't recreate X. In Moneyball's case, it's Jason Giambi. We can't recreate Giambi. We can't re-sign him. We can't bring in the guy who just does what Giambi does. But if we can bring in 4 guys who help us offset different parts of this, well, that helps. And I don't have access. Well, I guess I could go look, but it would take a long time, to what Ashton Larson hits against right-handed pitching versus what he does against left-handed pitching, and then do the same thing for Ethan Fry. It's possible that Fry, as a right-handed hitter, crushes left-handed pitching, and Larson struggles with it a little bit. You saw in Game 1, LSU's failed comeback on Saturday of the doubleheader. he was facing a tough left-hander, and he swung and missed that breaking ball out of the box. Maybe Ethan Fry gives you a better at-bat in that spot from the right side. And maybe good right-handed breaking balls eat Ethan Fry up, and Ashton Larson's really good against him. And if you've got those two guys at your disposal, and you can start one against this pitcher, but understand that this guy could come out of the bullpen, and you might need a pitch hit there. There are some moves in-game, not necessarily in the starting lineup, but in-game that you might be able to make. And one of those is with Fry and Larson. The other piece to this is third base. Last night, you saw Tanner Reeves, a left-handed hitter, start the game. Made the error in the first inning, but they like him offensively. Well, they go to a left-handed pitcher, Nicholls does. John Pearson gets in at bat. John Pearson hits the ball very, very hard. Michael Braswell goes in and plays defense for him. You saw three different guys man one position trying to get the best possible outcome against a right-handed starter, so Reeves is in, and then a left-handed reliever, so Pearson hits, and then you need defense with the lead, and Braswell plays. It's not going to go like that every game. You're not going to make multiple positional changes every single game with these wild platoons, but while you're trying to figure out what the best version of your team is, some of these things are good to look at. And I thought that those were two interesting pieces of it. Look at some of the stats that I pulled up for LouisianaSports.net. Nicholls was 0 for 9 with runners in scoring position in the game. LSU was 5 for 13. That's a 385 average with runners in scoring position. Even better, LSU with runners on base last night, 7 for 17. That is a 412 batting average. LSU scored 7 times in the game with 2 outs. That includes all 4 of the runs that LSU pushed across in the first inning. The first 2 players for LSU were retired in the first inning, and then they got things rolling thanks to a Jared Jones walk. They scored 4 runs in that inning. So I thought LSU played well. It's good you win the game. It's good you run rule them. I think it's probably a good thing that LSU run ruled them so that they could save pitching, get on the bus, get on the plane, go to Dallas, and have as many bodies as fresh as possible to go for a week of travel and an uptick in competition this weekend. I think that's fair to say. So mission accomplished last night in a rare Monday night game against Nicholls. Tigers moved to 7-1, and they'll now turn their attention to Dallas Baptist coming up on Wednesday night. That's our Genesis opening drive. Glen West talking some LSU baseball and basketball in 15 minutes. When we come back, interesting stuff from Ross Jackson at LouisianaSports.net. Could the Saints possibly trade Derek Carr? He thinks so, and he's got some suitors. We'll talk about it next.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Genesis of Baton Rouge. GenesisofBatonRouge.com is the website. Every car that is on the lot at Airline and PQ is online at GenesisofBatonRouge.com. When I say Genesis, you should think luxury vehicle. If you've never sat behind the wheel of a Genesis or in a Genesis, give it a try. You'll see the difference. And when you think luxury, don't just immediately turn it off and go, well, I can't afford a luxury vehicle. It's a luxury vehicle at a reasonable price. You don't know until you look. You can start that process at GenesisofBatonRouge.com, and you can further that process going to see one of their brand ambassadors at their gorgeous facility at Airline and PQ. Just walk around the lot. Take a look at their sedans. Take a look at the SUVs. They've got the entry level. They've got the highest end model. It's all right there on the lot. Maybe one of those fits you perfectly. You won't know unless you go check it out. So if you're on Airline Highway in the process of looking for a vehicle, just make one more stop. Stop off at Genesis of Baton Rouge and see what it's all about. It's Genesis of Baton Rouge. You can find them online at GenesisofBatonRouge.com.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected, supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
Crime has serious consequences, but anyone can make a mistake. If you find yourself in trouble with the law, know that you have rights, and it's okay to demand them. The law offices of O.C. Brown are here to protect you and your rights. Felony or misdemeanor, DUI or drug charge. No matter what crime you're accused of, you still have rights. Let the law offices of O.C. Brown uphold them. Call 225-343-1111. Your law firm for a lifetime.
Jerry and Benny Payne began Central Plumbing Company out of their driveway in Tanglewood subdivision. 50 years later and 4 generations down the road, we continue to serve Baton Rouge and the surrounding areas for all of their plumbing needs. Residential, commercial, industrial, or hospitality, Central Plumbing is here 24/7, 365.
We want to thank our customers, family, and friends for 50 years of success.
And looking forward to 50 more.
At Ochsner, we know healing is a team sport. That's why we've partnered with world-renowned orthopedic surgeon Dr. James Andrews to create the Ochsner Andrews Orthopedics and Sports Medicine Institute. Whether you're a professional athlete or a weekend warrior, our team of specialists are dedicated to getting you back in the game. So whatever your reasons are for reaching your personal best, we've only got one: you. Ochsner Andrews Institute. Long live you.
There's never been a better time to catch a John Deere deal from the crew of Sunshine. Ask us about our low monthly payment options on our tractor packages and let the good times roll. With equipment strong enough to power one of the world's largest celebrations, we've got your needs covered too. Learn more about what it means to be powered by Sunshine at sunequip.com. Some restrictions apply. See dealer for details.
You're listening to The Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN, Baton Rouge.
Glen West is going to come hang out with us here in 15 minutes talking LSU basketball tonight against Tennessee and then some LSU baseball as well. So looking forward to that conversation. Sharie Aack in an hour and 15 minutes as usual on Tuesdays. All right, let's talk about this. Let's talk about it. Is it possible for the Saints to trade Derek Carr? Now, when we discuss Derek Carr, I think most of the time the discussion goes one of two ways. Are the Saints going to restructure this deal like they always do, save some money? I mean, you have to basically restructure Derek Carr's deal to get compliant with the cap. Are you going to do that and try to figure that out with the numbers, or are you just going to cut him? And there are positives to both of those arguments. The positive to having him play is that all that money that you're tying up, whether he's on the team or not, is actually being used on the field. That's a positive. If you cut him, you're going to save a little bit of money, and you realize that the organization is moving in a very direct path away from Carr towards something else in the future, and I think we can all agree that that is a positive as well. Either one of those has its positives one way or another. You probably, as a fan of the Saints or someone who follows the team, you probably have a preferred path, but both of them have their merits. I think the best of both worlds is a potential trade. And it may be pie in the sky. I get it. But let's just discuss it for the sake of the situation. There is reportedly, and this is according to Albert Breer of SI, a host of teams that are now interested in making a move for Matthew Stafford from the Rams. Breer reports the Browns, Raiders, Giants, and Steelers have all shown interest in making a move for Matt Stafford. And I can argue that, Matt Stafford and Derek Carr are not worlds apart at this point in time. Carr's a little bit younger. He doesn't have a Super Bowl ring. He hasn't thrown for as many yards. But I would say both of those two guys at this point in their careers are proven, functional quarterbacks in the NFL. Do I think either one of them are going to win the MVP next year? No. And I know there are a lot of Saints fans that just do not like Derek Carr at all. But it's not like he's been atrocious in New Orleans. He's not. And I know that Matt talks about the Emperor of Empty Yards on his show, and there's certainly some merit to that. There are times where Derek Carr has slung it around and racked up yards when it wasn't all that important and the wins did not necessarily follow. But he played 17 games 2 years ago, if that's how we want to term that, 2023, 2 years ago. And he threw 25 touchdowns against 8 interceptions. He completed 68% of his throws. Like, he was okay. This past year, he was hurt and he missed time. But in 10 games, the Saints were 5-5 with a massive amount of injuries on offense and some on defense. He threw 15 touchdowns against 5 picks. He completed 68% of his throws. Like, he is functional as a quarterback. The Saints cannot use Derek Carr in 2025 to further their organization, in my opinion. That's my opinion. I don't think the roster is good enough that Derek Carr at quarterback is going to propel them to win the division and win a playoff game and be a threat to make an NFC title game. I think we can probably agree that we're all on the same page there. But if you have a functional roster, or you think you do, and you're just a quarterback away, which is why you would move for Matt Stafford, Derek Carr is not the worst second option. They're not that different. So if these teams consider themselves, I mean, I'm not talking about the Raiders, who are clearly not going to take him back, but if the Steelers and that defense feel like Carr's an upgrade over what they had last year, which is a young guy who's never won anything and an old guy who people don't really like to be around all that much. Maybe the Jets, who move on from Rodgers, who think they've got a great defense as well and some good skill position players, maybe they want to try that again. I'm not saying it's likely, but man, would it be awesome. Because if the Saints could move on from Carr, one, they might get something of an asset for him. And two, you would save over $11 million in salary. So that's an ideal world. That's a dream world. That's a utopia if it could happen. And the reason I'm not completely ruling it out is just because over the course of the last 10 years, I have just watched so many NFL teams do things that I deem to be fairly irrational for that one position on the field. Whether it's the draft, whether it's free agency, whether it's trades, whether it's signing guys past their prime, whether it's trying once again to go off of a potential that's not realized. Not every situation's the same, but you would have to agree that a lot of organizations do a lot of things that make you scratch your head a little bit because you're dealing with the quarterback. And again, to reiterate before we go one step deeper into this, I know that Saints fans think Derek Carr is atrocious. I'm telling you that he's not atrocious. He's just not the right fit for New Orleans right now. I think if you take Drew Brees off one of those late teams in his career and plug Derek Carr in there, the Saints are probably still a threat. They're not as good, but there's probably still a threat. This roster, he's no use to you. He's not good enough to elevate this roster. I don't know if anybody is, but he's not good enough to elevate this roster. That's different than how he fits somewhere else. So I'm just telling you, if everybody's beating down the door or at least knocking on it for Matt Stafford, they may show up for Derek Carr too, willing to give less assets. So the good news is, for the sake of this discussion, it's not something we have to really think about for a long time. We don't have to question whether or not this is realistic for months. This has to happen before March 14th. It has to happen in the next 20 days. Because at that point, $30 million of his base salary becomes guaranteed. That's the third day of the league year. So once that happens, we don't have to have the discussion because nobody's knocking on the door for that. But if you can start to exchange assets, see who's taking what portion of what money, and start to work together, I'm not telling you it's impossible. The Saints have had a lot of bad breaks. The best coach in the history of the franchise decided he was done. And then you thought you had a good team last year for 2 weeks and everybody got hurt. And everybody got hurt the year before that. And in Breeze's final year was COVID and you couldn't be in the dome. Like, there have been a lot of things that have gone wrong for the Saints. Maybe, just maybe, it's about that time that one big thing goes right. And I'm not suggesting they would get some kind of king's ransom for Derek Carr. Quite the opposite, in fact. But just taking a few bucks off the books, taking him and that question out of your hands at this point, and just moving forward with a full understanding that whether it's Spencer Rattler or whether it's some aging veteran or whether it's a draft pick that you want to make early in this draft, like, just the understanding that you're moving on and moving forward is a step in the right direction to me. We're talking baby steps here for the Saints. For too long, they have looked at this as, what's that one next move we can make to get there? What's the one next move we can make? And now we all know you're not one move away from getting there. You're a lot of baby steps away from even being close. Maybe this could be a stroke of good fortune for New Orleans, that they take a baby step away from Derek Carr towards the future because someone thinks they're closer to winning than the Saints are. That would be my sincere hope in this whole deal. If you want to read more about this, you can at LouisianaSports.net. Ross Jackson's got the piece up. Again, he mentions the Browns, the Giants, the Steelers, and the Jets among teams that could be interested over the next 20 days. Man, would that be an awesome start to the Kellen Moore era if they could not only move on from Derek Carr, but get some assets back for it, or an asset back for it, while helping financially. Maybe a pipe dream. Maybe it's just pie in the sky here, but I'm hopeful that the Saints can potentially get that done. If you're looking for Saints content, you can find ours, Hunt on Saints, or on YouTube or wherever you find your podcasts. You can Hunt on Saints. You like, subscribe, rate, and review all Saints all year round. Also, LouisianaSports.net, Ross Jackson does an awesome job of keeping up with the Saints, and he just pulled into Indianapolis as we speak here, so he's going to have coverage from the Combine all week long for LouisianaSports.net, and, of course, his podcast, Locked On Saints. So give him a follow and go ahead and take in all that content as the NFL calendar just never truly stops at this point. We'll take a time out when we come back. Glen West talking Tigers next.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
One Bath and Closets. OneBathAndClosets.com is the website. David Duvall and his team, 30 years redesigning and remodeling bathrooms and closets. You know, we always talk about whether or not you just want to upgrade. If you want to upgrade, and that's kind of a luxury to have, but sometimes you have to, because you've got some damage that is being done, some irreparable damage because your house is a little bit older, or there's been a leak, or some pipes have ruptured, and you've got to change. Well, David Duvall and his team can do that. He's got a master plumber right there with One Bath and Closets, and then he can come in, and in the course of that repair and replacement, in this case, you can go ahead and do a little bit of a renovation as well. David Duvall and his team are happy to do it. If that sounds a little bit overwhelming, let him walk you through the process step by step. Let him tell you about their financing options. We're talking about 18 months, 0%, same as cash, if you qualify for it. That makes things a little bit more palatable. It's One Bath and Closets. Check out the website, onebathandclosets.com. You can see pictures of their great work. You can see testimonials from their satisfied customers. You can start your process today with a phone call to One Bath and Closets to start that free consultation. It's David Duvall and his team at One Bath and Closets. You can find them online at onebathandclosets.com.
There's never been a better time to catch a John Deere deal from the crew of Sunshine. Ask us about our low monthly payment options on our tractor packages, and let the good times roll. With equipment strong enough to power one of the world's largest celebrations, we've got your needs covered too. Learn more about what it means to be powered by Sunshine at sunequip.com. Some restrictions apply. See dealer for details. Offer ends March 5th, 2025.
At Bayou Automotive, we believe in a sales process that puts you first. We want you to experience an easy purchase with clear pricing and great service. Let Bayou Ford and Bayou Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram be your trusted partners in finding your perfect vehicle. The crew at Bayou Automotive is going to do right by you.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary, for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected. Supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
Crime has serious consequences, but anyone can make a mistake. If you find yourself in trouble with the law, know that you have rights, and it's okay to demand them. The law offices of O.C. Brown are here to protect you and your rights. Felony or misdemeanor, DUI or drug charge. No matter what crime you're accused of, you still have rights. Let the law offices of O.C. Brown uphold them. Call 225-343-1111. Your law firm for a lifetime.
Jerry and Benny Payne began Central Plumbing Company out of their driveway in Tanglewood subdivision. 50 years later and 4 generations down the road, we continue to serve Baton Rouge and the surrounding areas for all of their plumbing needs. Residential, commercial, industrial, or hospitality, Central Plumbing is here 24/7, 365.
We want to thank our customers, family, and friends for 50 years of success.
And looking forward to 50 more.
When you can't rely on technology, you can rely on mountain.
This is the Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN, Baton Rouge.
.45 ESPN Baton Rouge and Citizens Bank and Trust want to help cover your car payments. It's a $5,000 grand prize with a bonus chance to win free car washes from Benny's Car Wash for 6 months. We're also letting you earn extra entries by subscribing to our LouisianaSports.net daily newsletter. To sign up, visit 1045ESPN.com.
All right, we're going to talk some Tigers. Glen West, our senior writer over at Go 24/7. Got your team coverage and your recruiting coverage of the Tigers all year round over there, and he's with us every single Tuesday. Joins us now. Glenn, how we doing?
Doing great, Hunt. How about yourself?
Doing quite well. Let's talk baseball first. We'll talk LSU and Tennessee hoops after that. Tigers lose their first contest over the weekend, but take 2 of 3. Beat a pretty scrappy Nicholls team last night handily, and then they'll head to Dallas. So do you have any major takeaways from the weekend that was? The offense went in the deep freeze there for about 10 innings.
Yeah, it was not a good look offensively for about 8 or 9 innings. I mean, when you're getting no hit at your own building and you're looking up stats from 50 years ago as the last time LSU got no hit at home, I mean, that's not a good place to be in, but I'm not overly concerned. I think just because of the way they bounced back in those next 2 games, I thought they were really, inside of their plan as opposed to being outside of their plan. That was something that Jay Johnson talked about a lot Saturday after that doubleheader, is that they just got completely out of their plan, and that he kind of knew what to fix. And you saw that in Game 3, and certainly against Nicholls, LSU had a really nice couple games there offensively. I thought it was really important that Stephen Milam and Jared Jones seemed to be swinging the bat really well as they kind of head to Frisco here for this long 5-6 day stretch of baseball. So when your 2 best players are hitting the ball and having some confidence here going into a pretty interesting week, I guess, from a non-conference perspective, that's really good. And then from a pitching perspective, I mean, outside of 1 inning there in Game 2 on Saturday, I thought that, again, this pitching staff has been all over the strike zone. They've done a really nice job of keeping teams off base via the free pass. That was a huge issue last year early in the season. And so the fact that they're throwing this many strikes and that this many guys are getting worked into the rotation early, and that you're seeing that consistency across the board, I think is a really good sign for this group.
I'm curious your thoughts on the platoons that we're seeing, not so much at catcher, because you got to play 2 catchers, but with Larson and Fry, then at third base with Reeves and Braswell. And as he kind of manipulates that, how do you think that is going to shake out?
Yeah, it's very much open season right now, I think, for those spots. I mean, even in that Saturday game too, we got to the ballpark and I was a little surprised that Chris Stanfield wasn't in the lineup card after starting the first 5 games of the season. So I think that there's a lot open in terms of how they're going to handle right field and DH in particular. Tanner Reeves, I think, was somebody that I had kind of my eye on from a distance, just because I'd seen him swing the bat well in the fall and in the spring, and I thought could give some competition there to Braswell over at third base. But I think ultimately, Braswell is a seasoned veteran. He's gonna get it going at the plate, and hadn't made any errors over at third base, so it's not like he's kicking the ball around like he did a little bit early in the year last year. So I think, just give Braswell some time and he'll get it together like he did at the end of last year. But I'm endlessly curious about what they do from a matchup perspective in right field. I think really right now the only guy that you can pencil in every day in the outfield is Derek Curiel, which is interesting, and also opens up a world of possibilities that LSU can go in for those other 2 spots. So I'm kind of dancing around your question there in terms of the outfield and DH, but it's just because we've seen so many guys get so many opportunities here, and I don't know that they're any closer to figuring that out as we go into week 3.
Beauty of a baseball season. It's just kind of a long and winding road, and there are storylines that emerge almost every single week. Cade Anderson, I don't know if you picked up on the same thing I did, but did not seem to be in a very good mood Friday in his press conference after he got pulled in the 6th inning there. And then maybe I'm reading too much into this, but I said it on my show, and I'll see your thoughts on it. I noticed Jay Johnson's face when he talked about Cade Anderson and how he would pitch in Frisco this coming Friday, and he had this smirk about him like, I think he's ticked, and I think he's going to be awesome on Friday. And that's kind of what I pulled from that press conference in person. I'm curious if you saw the same thing.
I can't say I saw the same thing on Jay's face, but I'll echo your sentiments. Anderson was not a pitcher that sounded like he was very pleased with his performance after his game last Friday. He I think has the utmost confidence in his ability. And I think that's just what you want to see out of a Friday night guy, somebody that's going to be steady and has that calm demeanor. I mean, we've written about him a bunch over at our site here early in the first couple weeks of the season. I mean, outside of his 6th inning there on Friday, it's been exemplary pitching and just really locating all of his pitches, the slider, the changeup, curveball, the fastball, whatever he wants. And I think one of the things that Koki Riley, who actually works at the Advocate, pointed out to me is that when you're throwing your fastball for strikes at 92, 93 miles an hour and guys aren't swinging at it, it's because they're just guessing at what you're throwing. And I think Cade Anderson is an exemplary example of that. Just a guy that you don't know what pitch is coming next. And even if it's not the most overpowering stuff at 97, 98, like you get with the Chase Shores, he's going to locate his pitches and he's going to make you think about what's coming next. I think that's a really good player to have in that position to start the weekends.
Not talking about Nate Yeske, not talking about Jay Johnson, talking about Glen West. If you had 3 outs and everybody was fresh, you had to get 3 outs with one guy, who would you give the ball to on LSU staff right now?
I mean, we haven't seen Gavin Guidry yet, and I would probably lean towards him just from a veteran perspective, but I've been so impressed by what we've seen from Kason Evans, and it's only been 2 performances, but I mean, he's throwing 96, 97 in the freezing cold, and we're not even, we're very, very much in the infancy of this season so far, and he's not only just throwing the fastball for strikes, but he's mixing in his slider, which goes 85, 86 for strikes as well. So, I mean, it's hard to say not to say Kason Evans. I think he has 9 strikeouts in the 13 or 14 batters he's faced. He's been dominant at the end of games so far, and very much by design. I think he was the one that closed one of those games in each of the first 2 weekends, and I think he's going to be put in several spots this week to potentially do the same. I mean, I think they really think they've found something with him early in the season, and now for really all these guys, the pitchers, the position players, this is kind of a weekend here where you play Dallas Baptist, you play Sam Houston, who was a tournament team a couple of years ago. You're playing a number of really solid teams this weekend. You're really going to get a chance to see what these guys are like, I think, in some high pressure situations on the road.
Should be very, very interesting. We'll start it up tomorrow in Arlington when LSU plays DBU at Globe Life. Tigers on the hardwood tonight in the PMAC against another top 10 team, Tennessee Volunteers, coming in, I think, ranked number 5 in the country. Team that plays really good defense. How does LSU score some points tonight?
Yeah, your guess is as good as mine in terms of scoring. But I think the one thing that I will say is that, yes, Tennessee's defense is kind of otherworldly at times. I will say their offense has been a detriment to them, and that's been kind of a consistent theme throughout the last several years as to why they haven't really made a deep run in the tournament. So if LSU can make this a messy offensive game, limit the second chance opportunities for Tennessee and get, one shot and done off the rim, I think that would be the ideal scenario for LSU to kind of hang around for as long as they can. But it's really going to come down to, can they make shots? Can they make contested shots at the rim? And we haven't seen that enough consistently to believe that they'll be able to do it. But they are at home. They have shown that they can play with some of these top end teams for long stretches. I mean, they were right there with Florida in the 5-minute mark and just let it completely get out of hand. Can they do it again in their own building? We'll see. I have, obviously you're not going to go in expecting them to upset the number 5 team in the country, but I think there are some pathways here to where they can stay competitive in this game for a long stretch. It's just, do they have the guys to be able to compete for a full 40 minutes? And I just don't have that full belief right now.
How have they cut their turnovers just about in half? I mean, they haven't had a bad turnover game in 3 weeks.
Yeah, I think a lot of it has to do with the fact they're rolling out that 4-guard lineup. I asked McMahon that question yesterday in his press conference before tonight's game, and he really kind of leaned and harbored on the fact that they've started Curtis Givens, that he's done a really nice job of playing a good floor game for them and not turning the ball over in the half court. You've got Victorious Miller out there. You've got Cam Carter and Jai Bailey. Those are guys that are I think growing more comfortable throughout the season as they get more opportunities. And the one guy we haven't seen a whole lot of, and I hate to keep harping on him a little bit, but Jordan Sears, one of your best scorers on this team. He's only playing 8 to 10 minutes these last couple of games, and I think a lot of it has to do with the fact he struggled with turnovers. So, I think the fact that they've kind of leaned into this grouping with the 4-guard lineups, they're subbing in, Damian Collins and Corey Chest, and different guys are getting opportunities in the front court. But I think you really got to go back to that 4-guard lineup and the fact that all of them are handling the ball a little bit better and just making better decisions throughout the course of the game.
What about Robert Miller? What kind of chance do you give him to have a big game tonight? He's played much better over the last 3 weeks. We didn't really see him at all in December.
Yeah, I left the most important guy out there in that front court that I was just talking about. I mean, he's been great. I mean, going back to that, I believe it was at Arkansas was when he really first blossomed there with that road performance. It was in a loss, but you could just tell he was growing more and more comfortable finishing around the rim in the post. And he was a big central focus of conversation yesterday with McMahon. He just talked about how much confidence he's playing with around the rim and how he's put on about 20 pounds since he's got here of good muscle, and he's throwing his weight around a little bit more down there in the paint, and he's a good screener. He's a good cutter to the basket, and especially those top of the key situations where those guards are coming off screens and they're looking for him. And he's been ready the last couple games to finish, and he's even kicked and popped a few threes in that game on Saturday. I'd like to see a little bit more of that continue to be a part of his game that he's working in, but he's somebody that I think absolutely has to be a part of your future here if you want to have a program that you can build and get to being more competitive. And it's been really nice to see him come along these last couple weeks offensively. There's still a lot of work to do defensively with everyone on this roster, but I think the way that he's come along offensively gives you a lot of good hope if you're able to retain him for next year.
How do you expect the crowd to be tonight?
We'll see. I mean, I don't know if many have seen, but they're handing out some pretty clean jerseys. And They gave us a couple samples yesterday of what the students are going to be getting. I think they're handing out 1,000 of those. So you hope the student section shows up a little bit. But there wasn't a very big crowd for the Florida game. And I know LSU's in a really tough spot right now record-wise, but Florida's still a number 2 team in the country. And usually when you're playing those top end teams, good or bad, you'd expect or hope that the fan base would show up, but we'll see. I honestly don't have great expectations for what the crowds look like the rest of the year, but all you can really do if you're LSU is just control what you can control, which is the product you're putting on the court.
They keep getting these 8 o'clock midweek starts. It's just a tough way to draw a crowd when you got 3 league wins, but we'll see. Enjoy the basketball tonight, Glenn. We'll talk next week.
All right. Thanks, Hunt. Appreciate it.
Glen West, Go 24/7, all your team coverage, recruiting coverage. They got you covered over there at Go 24/7. Yeah, I mean, I can't imagine. I wrote this in my preview piece at LouisianaSports.net. Like, I think it'll be half full. Like, it just 8 o'clock on a school night on a Tuesday when you're 3 and whatever and you're a 10-point dog. I just have a hard time thinking you're going to get a lot of folks in there. However, and I'll talk about this in 15 minutes when I do my game preview, it's a bit of a sandwich spot for Tennessee. They went on the road to College Station on Saturday. Alabama comes to them on Saturday, so that's 2 massive games for them. Then you're going to walk in there on a Tuesday night at 8 o'clock p.m. and a half-full PMAC against a team that's got 3 league wins. Like, is that going to bring your best effort out? We'll see. Could be a bit of a sandwich spot here for the Vols. LSU and Tennessee tonight at 8 o'clock. You want to listen to it, you can on our sister station, Eagle 98.1, pregame at 7:30. Chris Blair and John Brady will be on the call. We'll come back and close out hour number 1 next.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Highland Insurance Group, HighlandIG.com is that website. Jonathan Carbo and his team, they pride themselves on their expertise when it comes to dissecting policies. They can audit yours for free, give you a look at what your policy does and what it doesn't do. I'll tell you the story. This is just one of the easier stories to tell, so I don't have to speak too much insurance-ese here, though I'm still fairly fluent in insurance-ese after 7 years as a business. Like, they had a potential client come in. They had a general liability policy. It was over 5 locations for $1 million, which is fairly standard. They were able to write that program with $1 million at each location, so $5 million total in the aggregate for the same premium. That's the kind of expertise they can bring you because they know what markets like which classes of business, and they can make sure that your commercial insurance is placed with the right market. They're an independent broker. It means they've got contracts with dozens of different markets. They can make sure that you are taken care of the proper way. They're not a silver bullet. Don't call Jonathan Carver and his team and say, hey, my insurance renewal is massively overpriced. I would really like to cut 20% off this. They probably can't do that. They can try, but they probably can't do that. What they can do is make sure that your insurance is placed properly and that it's going to respond properly in the event that there's something that goes wrong. That's what insurance is designed to do, and that's what they'll help you with at the Highland Insurance Group. You can find them online at HighlandIG.com. That's the Highland Insurance Group.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
At Bayou Automotive, we believe in a sales process that puts you first. We want you to experience an easy purchase with clear pricing and great service. Let Bayou Ford and Bayou Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram be your trusted partners in finding your perfect vehicle. The crew at Bayou Automotive is going to do right by you.
At Auctioner, we know healing is a team sport. That's why we've partnered with world-renowned orthopedic surgeon Dr. James Andrews to create the Auctioner Andrews Orthopedics and Sports Medicine Institute. Whether you're a professional athlete or a weekend warrior, our team of specialists are dedicated to getting you back in the game. So whatever your reasons are for reaching your personal best, we've only got one: you. Auctioner Andrews Institute. Long live you.
You gotta believe in a dream. Believe. You gotta believe in a dream. Believe. You gotta believe. My whole team on wild.
Need service now? Bayou Ford and Bayou Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram can get you same-day appointments for service, and we offer pickup and delivery of your vehicle from New Orleans to Baton Rouge. If you need sales and service, the crew at Bayou Automotive is going to do right by you.
There's never been a better time to catch a John Deere deal from the crew of Sunshine. Ask us about our low monthly payment options on our tractor packages and let the good times roll. With equipment strong enough to power one of the world's largest celebrations, we've got your needs covered too. Learn more about what it means to be powered by Sunshine at sunequip.com. Some restrictions apply. See dealer for details. Offer ends March 5th, 2025.
Family owned and community driven.
Service Chevrolet Cadillac, a legacy you can trust since 1972. Service Chevrolet.
You're listening to The Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN, Baton Rouge.
So the Spurs are in the Smoothie King Center tonight to take on the Pelicans. We don't talk a ton of Pelicans on this show because, well, not a lot of people want to talk about the Pelicans at this point. They don't win a lot of games. Tonight, Chris Paul comes back to New Orleans for what theoretically could be his final game in uniform in that building. We know there's a history there from the Hornets to the Pelicans, and that Chris Paul took this franchise to its greatest heights in New Orleans. And we know that there is a fractured relationship there with a lot of the fan base. Now, I don't speak to this very emotionally, but I have told y'all, like, I still harbor ill will towards Nick Mingione for yelling foul ball or I got it at a pop-up like 13 years ago, okay? So I understand how competition can breed animus and how you can feel like you were scorned and that Chris Paul demanded out and he didn't want to be in New Orleans and all of those things. And I understand if there are some Pelicans fans, New Orleans folks, that just are going to resent Chris Paul forever. Like, I get it. Matt Moscona's got a column up at LouisianaSports.net right now, and it talks about some of the quotes that Chris Paul gave Ryan Clark on The Pivot in a podcast that's a year or so old, where he said, look, I didn't know if the Pelicans were or the Hornets were even going to stay in New Orleans. I didn't know if the franchise was going to be there, or if it was going to be half San Antonio, half Oklahoma City. I didn't know what the future of the franchise was, and that you don't have an owner, and then you've got a situation where the league is vetoing or accepting trades, and it wasn't functioning like the other organizations in the sport. And he's got a point there. Now, I can't speak to the exact specifics of that. I don't know exactly who was calling those shots or who knew what.
That was David Stern. I mean,
right, but I don't know exactly what those conversations are like.
No.
For me to be adamant and bang the table here, I need to know who knew what and what was being said and who's making decisions. I very, very fully remember David Stern was in the middle of all this, and he's vetoing this trade and accepting this trade. Like, I get that whole thing, but, like, I don't have enough information from that. Now, I can listen to what Chris Paul says, but that can be a he said, she said too. But I do think that Chris Paul has admiration for the city of New Orleans. I think he enjoyed his time in New Orleans based on what he has said. And I know that that was the best run we've seen from that franchise in this city. And I think he'll get booed tonight. And I think that is okay if misguided. It just is what it is. The people feel the way they're going to feel, and it's a prideful city that's not going to take well when the biggest stars on its basketball team ask out of town. And so I get it, but I feel like enough time has probably passed where it might be time one time as he's about to be on his way out to say, hey, thanks. And I don't know if that time ever comes. Do you think they ever retire his number back?
I think they probably will. They probably should.
Should they boo him tonight?
I'm kind of in the same boat as you, where I can't tell. I'm a fan of the Hornets. I mean, I'm Pelicans. I went to the Western Conference semifinals and they played the Spurs and it was awesome. They won the game I went to. They won, and so I've been a fan, since I was a kid. But I can understand people booing him. I don't boo anybody really. I'm not going to boo a player really. I understand why people would. I don't particularly like Chris Paul. Also, not because of what happened, not just of what happened with New Orleans, but also just because the way he's handled himself on the court a lot. I just don't really think he's a really high. He's a good player, but I just don't like the way he handles himself on the court. But anyways, yeah,
a lot of flopping and complaining. He
just. So after he left, and then just the way his career has turned out, I'm not a fan, and I wouldn't boo him, but I totally understand why people would, because he did leave. After. Just when the team,
look,
you want your players to stand by the team.
I get that. I just gave you my example. It's ridiculous that I hold ill will toward Nick Mangione. Ridiculous. Jay Johnson, who I love, who's awesome. It's one of his best friends.
Yeah.
And I hate the guy because of one thing he did, one decision he made a decade ago. It's stupid, but it's sports, and here it is. And so I get, and that's not even a guy that was on my team. Just a guy that was working against my team, and it's a completely different deal. But the point is, I understand grudges.
Yeah.
And I held one against Nick Saban for almost 2 decades. It is what it is. I don't know that Chris Paul has tormented the city of New Orleans the way Nick Saban tormented the city of Baton Rouge once he left.
Not really.
But I understand that, and so we'll see kind of what the reaction is like tonight. If you'd like to read Matt's opinion piece, it's up at LouisianaSports.net. He says that it's time to mend fences with CP3, and we'll see if the day comes where that does happen and they put his number up in the Raptor show. We'll see. That's it for hour number 1. If you missed any of it, catch it on demand wherever you find your sound. Just search Hunt Palmer Show. We'll come back and preview LSU in Tennessee. Still got to talk Saints with Sharie Aack as well. Come back after Sports Center, Tuesday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary, for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected, supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
At Auctioner, we know healing is a team sport. That's why we've partnered with world-renowned orthopedic surgeon Dr. James Andrews to create the Auctioner Andrews Orthopedics and Sports Medicine Institute. Whether you're a professional athlete or a weekend warrior, our team of specialists are dedicated to getting you back in the game. So whatever your reasons are for reaching your personal best, we've only got one. You. Auctioner Andrews Institute. Long live you.
The Windsor Senior Living Community in Mandeville, Louisiana is a beautiful, vibrant apartment community geared toward seniors. They are nestled right in the heart of Mandeville, where seniors live a more carefree lifestyle in spacious apartments with the peace of mind that comes from having a little extra help. Call the Windsor at 985-624-8040 to schedule a lunch and tour. Come see how the Windsor can be your passport to peace of mind.
Crime has serious consequences, but anyone can make a mistake. If you find yourself in trouble with the law, know that you have rights, and it's okay to demand them. The law offices of O.C. Brown are here to protect you and your rights. Felony or misdemeanor, DUI or drug charge. No matter what crime you're accused of, you still have rights. Let the law offices of O.C. Brown uphold them. Call 225-343-1111. Your law firm for a lifetime.
Jerry and Benny Payne began Central Plumbing Company out of their driveway in Tanglewood subdivision. 50 years later and 4 generations down the road, we continue to serve Baton Rouge and the surrounding areas for all of their plumbing needs. Residential, commercial, industrial, or hospitality, Central Plumbing is here 24/7, 365.
We want to thank our customers, family, and friends for 50 years of success.
And looking forward to 50 more.
Need service now? Bayou Ford and Bayou Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram can get you same-day appointments for service, and we offer pickup and delivery of your vehicle from New Orleans to Baton Rouge. If you need sales and service, the crew at Bayou Automotive is going to do right by you.
There's never been a better time to catch a John Deere deal from the crew of Sunshine. Ask us about our low monthly payment options on our tractor packages and let the good times roll. With equipment strong enough to power one of the world's largest celebrations, we've got your needs covered too. Learn more about what it means to be powered by Sunshine at sunequip.com. Some restrictions apply. See dealer for details. Offer ends March 5th, 2025.
Family owned and community driven.
Service Chevrolet Cadillac, a legacy you can trust since 1972. Service Chevrolet Cadillac, our family serving your family.
For over 50 years.
At Bayou Automotive, we believe in a sales process that puts you first. We want you to experience an easy purchase with clear pricing and great service. Let Bayou Ford and Bayou Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram be your trusted partners in finding your perfect vehicle. The crew at Bayou Automotive is going to do right by you.
This is SportsCenter.
I'm Christine Lisi. 23 days after one of the most stunning trades in NBA history, Luka Doncic faces his former team for the first time when he and the Lakers welcome the Mavericks. Doncic has admitted to being blindsided and hurt by the trade. He'll be plenty motivated. Whether he has a massive performance tonight depends on a few things, explains ESPN NBA analyst Tim Legler.
I think he comes out early, like Luka typically does. He puts his toe in the water first for himself to see how hot he is. If he hits a couple of threes early, yeah, he might try to drop a big number on them, but the game could get out of hand too. That'll dictate to the exact numbers.
Tim Legler on Unsportsmanlike. Chiefs GM Brett Veach said he expects tight end Travis Kelce to play in 2025 after his most recent conversations with him. The 35-year-old Kelce said earlier this month he was weighing his future. Ravens GM Eric DeCosta told reporters the amount of sexual misconduct allegations made against kicker Justin Tucker is serious and concerning, but indicated the team will wait before determining his future in Baltimore. 16 massage therapists have made the allegations. Tucker's denied any wrongdoing.
Hey, it's your resident Super Bowl champ, Chris Candy. Coming up Wednesday, I'll tell you what's the best and worst case scenarios for every quarterback needy team. It's Unsportsmanlike weekday mornings at 6, right here on ESPN Radio, ESPN2, and ESPNU.
Now, the Hunt Palmer Show.
Yes! I feel like I've been waiting for this my entire life.
You're listening to the Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Jolly good fun. Jolly good.
Locking down the middle of the day.
America's favorite daytime fun show.
Live from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studio. This is Hunt Palmer.
Hour 2, Tuesday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show. Hope your work week's off to a good start. Appreciate you hanging out with us here on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. Sharie Aack in 30 minutes talking Saints. LSU and Tennessee tonight from the PMAC. It'll be an 8 o'clock tip-off in what I don't believe to be an electric atmosphere on the campus of LSU. But another top 5 team is coming in for the second consecutive week. Tennessee has just been as consistent as any program in the country under Rick Barnes for the last 8 or so years. I went back and looked at the math. Over the last 8 seasons, Rick Barnes' Tennessee Volunteers are 95-44 in SEC play. That's almost a 70% winning percentage in the SEC. Now, the SEC of today, not exactly the same as the SEC of 8 years ago, but most programs have gone through some real cycles between then and now, and Tennessee's just been rock solid. They're a tournament team every year. They're a 20, 23, 25 win team every year. Last year, they finally got to the Elite Eight, got to the regional final, and Zach Edey and Purdue beat them. Year before that, they did get to the Sweet 16, and then Florida Atlantic on the way to the Final Four beat them. They haven't gotten to the Final Four. They haven't done that in program history. Bruce Pearl couldn't do it, and Rick Barnes has not done it to this point. And that's kind of the last wall for them to kick down. But they are, from November to the beginning of March every single year, just really, really good. And this team is certainly not an exception to that. They were undefeated in non-conference play this year. They beat Louisville, they beat Virginia, they beat Baylor, they beat Miami, they beat Illinois. They've been really solid. Now, their one hiccup as far as wins and losses goes has been on the road. They're only 3-4 on the road in the SEC, but these are not your average road games. They lost at Florida in a game they lost by 30 points, scored 43 that day. But losing at Florida, not exactly a crime. They lost at Auburn, who's probably the best team in the country. It was a 2-point game that they lost 53-51. They went to Kentucky and lost. Rupp's a very difficult place to play for a lot of folks right now with the way Mark Pope's got that team playing offense. They lost at Vanderbilt as well by a point. So not like bad losses in terms of the quality. They've been blown out a couple times, but they've still lost 4 of their 7 games on the road. But they're still really good, and they're really good because of the same thing that makes them really good every single year, and that's defense. Rick Barnes knows how to recruit defensive players and coach defensive players. Listen to some of these defensive statistics for Tennessee. They're 3rd in the nation in defensive efficiency. They're 3rd in the nation in opponents' three-point percentage. They are 1st in the country in opponents' shooting percentage. They are 8th in the country in block percentage. They are 4th in the country in points per game. Being in the top 10 in the country in any metric is really hard to do. They're top 10 in just about every defensive metric you can find, except one. They don't turn teams over frequently. They're 87th in the country in turnovers per possession, and they play as slow as anybody in the SEC. They're 302nd in tempo. So they play really slow. That would drive your turnover number down, but we're not even talking about that. We're talking about per possession. They don't turn you over. So what Tennessee does on defense, you come into the front court, they sit down in a stance, and they beat you up. They fight through screens. They pressure the basketball. They trap bigs. They force you to your weak hand. They are relentless on the defensive side of the basketball. And that is the case every single time out. Now, a couple of teams have scored some points on them, but it takes a pretty special spot. Like Kentucky made 12 of 24 threes. They shot 50% from the three-point line, and that's how they were able to score and beat Tennessee. Vanderbilt got some turnovers and turned those into points, some in transition. They got 21 points off of turnovers. There's no perfect method to beating Tennessee with your offense. Here's my thought for LSU. Remember last week I told you I don't have a good plan for you for Florida? I didn't. I didn't have a 22-2 run in my back pocket. I didn't have a plan for LSU to stay in the game against Florida. There was nothing statistically or matchup-wise that I could look at and go, okay, that's where LSU can try to keep it close. I can paint the picture tonight. Your guards, probably starting with Curtis Givens and Cam Carter, are going to have a really good feel for the game. And when I say that, I mean, if you see a chance to push the tempo against Tennessee, I would try to push the tempo. I've been telling you for a month and a half that LSU needs to slow down, and they have, and they're not turning the ball over very much. Tonight, you need to look for chances to push because you'd rather try to play Tennessee in a 3-on-3 or a 4-on-3 or a 3-on-2 in transition than let them set that defense up. But you can't just go nuts and try to throw full court passes and go charging 1-on-3 into the rim. You can't be reckless with your pushing, but you've got to try at times to see if you can't push the pace a little bit. And if you can't, back it up. That's one thing. If you can get a turnover here and there off of Tennessee and create some tempo, that's good as well. LSU's not going to score 80 points in this game. I'm trying to get you north of 60, 63. If LSU can try to get to 67 tonight, that's about as good as realistically you can hope for. And then I think LSU can guard Tennessee. Tennessee has had some games where their offense just kind of disintegrates. It can happen. And LSU's defense is not terrible. Their rebounding is terrible. You play 4 guards out there, like Florida just annihilated LSU on the glass, especially on their offensive end. And Tennessee's a good offensive rebounding team. They're 25th in the country in rebounding offensively. They've got bigs that'll get in there and mix it up. Igor Milicic is big boy. He'll go in there and get rebounds. Felix Okpara is a big boy. He'll go in there and get rebounds. Even Chaz Lanier will go in there at times as a guard and get some rebounds. But you've got to try to do your best to get on the defensive glass. If LSU can keep Tennessee to 11 or 12 offensive rebounds, you'll probably stay in it because Tennessee will have some lulls shooting the ball. It's not a terrible offense. They're 55th in efficiency, but it's really your only shot. And then it's something that I talked about at the end of the first hour, but I'll reiterate here as we're kind of breaking down the game. This could be a letdown spot for Tennessee. They were on the road on Saturday at a top 10 team in Texas A&M. They won the game. This coming weekend, they will walk in on Saturday to the most electrifying atmosphere in college basketball on Saturday. They will host Alabama in a game that will feature an Alabama team that wants to get up and down the floor and shoot 1,000,000 threes, and a Tennessee team that's 302nd in the country in pace. And it'll be two schools that hate each other, fan bases that hate each other, in one of the biggest arenas in the country with two top 15 teams going at it. And it'll be crazy. Not tonight. Sandwiched between top 10 on the road, top 10 at home, is a half-full PMAC at 8 o'clock on a Tuesday. So if Tennessee takes a breath and LSU makes some shots like they did against Florida, Tennessee's not as equipped as the Gators to just come roaring back. They can. They're not as equipped as Florida. So, once again, the same thing I told you on Friday before LSU and Florida played on Saturday, I could not in good conscience take the 10 points with LSU tonight because I think it's likely LSU scores in the 50s. But I can, unlike Friday, paint you a picture that gets LSU close that would not take some severe outlier like we saw on Saturday. Now, one thing that has remained abundantly clear, and that was clear on Saturday as well, if Cam Carter goes 0 for 6 from 3 and 2 of 14 from the floor and turns it over 3 times, LSU's going to get their butts kicked. He did that on Saturday, and LSU got their butt kicked. He's going to have to score 22 points in this game. He's going to have to make 4 or 5 threes. That's just the way it goes. Because LSU doesn't have another avenue. There is no other way to score enough points to win an SEC game if Cam Carter can't play. So he's got to step it up. But if he does, and LSU rebounds a little bit, and Tennessee takes a deep breath in a tough spot, I can see LSU hanging in this game. But once again, I will tell you, I would not feel confident taking 10 points with LSU in the PMAC tonight. So that's kind of my thought on the game. Beck, do you feel any better about the Tigers than I do?
I guess I do because I expect Cam Carter to have a much better game. I mean, he hasn't had two games in a row where he hasn't been able to score the ball. If you just look back at his game, look back at his game log, you'll see that he hasn't had two games in a row where he struggled to shoot the ball. So I expect him to play better, which I think is going to help obviously a lot. The only thing I worry about though is if we don't see an adjustment, if Tennessee is not an overall great rebounding team, they are good offensively rebounding, but Igor Milicic and Okpara are going to be a problem, and if LSU can't adjust to that, if they don't adjust to that, and they just let Tennessee get 15 to 20 offensive rebounds, then you can't. There's nothing you can do about that other than actually just trying to adjust your lineup. But if Matt McMahon is going to, for better or worse, stick to this 4-guard lineup, then if Tennessee goes out there and gets 15 to 20 rebounds, then that's it. That's the game. So that's what I want to see. I want to see if there is an adjustment on the lineup. If Tennessee sticks with Milicic and Okpara and they both play 20-plus minutes, then that's going to be the question for me.
Yeah. I mean, look, it's tough. It's usually, and we've talked about this a bunch, so I'm not going to rehash it, but like 12 years ago, you played one top 5 team in league play. Now, like, it's not uncommon to play 2 in a week. It's It's just crazy how difficult this league is. LSU is playing better than they did in January. They played Ole Miss off their feet for 37 minutes. They beat Oklahoma. They beat South Carolina. They played Florida tooth and nail for 35 minutes. That's better than they were doing early in the season. But these teams are just a lot better than them. Their teams are better.
The finishing stretch for LSU was just ridiculous. Starting with Florida at number 2 Florida. They got number 5 Tennessee tonight. They've got to go on the road to the hump to play number 24 Mississippi State, who's a really good team, and they got to go to Rupp and play Kentucky. And then they finish with A&M at home. So it's
number
just
7.
Who's number 12? Yeah. So it's just an absurd league this year.
Yeah, just not a great league. Not a great year to bring in an average basketball team into. They did all right in the non-conference, but for conference play, not quite the same. So 8 o'clock tip-off from the PMAC if you want to listen to it. Eagle 98.1, 7:30 pregame show for John Brady and the voice of the Tigers, Chris Blair. We'll come back. Sharie Aack in 15 minutes on the Hunt Palmer Show.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected, supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
Crime has serious consequences, but anyone can make a mistake. If you find yourself in trouble with the law, know that you have rights, and it's okay to demand them. The law offices of O.C. Brown are here to protect you and your rights. Felony or misdemeanor, DUI or drug charge. No matter what crime you're accused of, you still have rights. Let the law offices of O.C. Brown uphold them. Call 225-343-1111. Your law firm for a lifetime.
Jerry and Benny Payne began Central Plumbing Company out of their driveway in Tanglewood subdivision. 50 years later and 4 generations down the road, we continue to serve Baton Rouge and the surrounding areas for all of their plumbing needs. Residential, commercial, industrial, or hospitality, Central Plumbing is here 24/7, 365.
We want to thank our customers, family, and friends for 50 years of success.
And looking forward to 50 more.
Family owned and community driven.
Service Chevrolet Cadillac, a legacy you can trust since 1972. Service Chevrolet Cadillac, our family serving your family.
For over 50 years.
There's never been a better time to catch a John Deere deal from the crew of Sunshine. Ask us about our low monthly payment options on our tractor packages and let the good times roll. With equipment strong enough to power one of the world's largest celebrations, we've got your needs covered too. Learn more about what it means to be powered by Sunshine at sunequip.com. Some restrictions apply. See dealer for details. Offer ends March 5th, 2025.
At Auctioner, we know healing is a team sport. That's why we've partnered with world-renowned orthopedic surgeon Dr. James Andrews to create the Auctioner Andrews Orthopedics and Sports Medicine Institute. Whether you're a professional athlete or a weekend warrior, our team of specialists are dedicated to getting you back in the game. So whatever your reasons are for reaching your personal best, we've only got one: you. Auctioner Andrews Institute. Long live you.
At Bayou Automotive, we believe in a sales process that puts you first. We want you to experience an easy purchase with clear pricing and great service. Let Bayou Ford and Bayou Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram be your trusted partners in finding your perfect vehicle. The crew at Bayou Automotive is going to do right by you.
Gulf Coast Bank and Trust is giving our customers the power to bank anywhere, anytime during this challenging event. And we're right there with you.
This is the Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN, Baton Rouge.
The NFL Combine taking place this week in Indianapolis. I think there are a sizable amount of football fanatics that love to eat up the Combine, love seeing the 40 times, love seeing the verticals, the bench presses, who's going to throw, who's not. Y'all are aware it's not my favorite thing. I think the results are noteworthy. I'm not going to sit there and watch the NFL Network and watch a bunch of guys run and see what the time looks like. I'll watch Rich Eisen in the suit run. That to me is fascinating. But I like the results of the Combine more than the process itself. But there's no denying how big a deal it is. And there are several LSU players that'll be up there and participating. Mel Kiper came out with his latest big board, his top 25 players. It's not a mock draft, just where those players slot in the top 25. And I've got to think that this is the longest into a big board without an SEC player as there's been in a long time. You have got to get to number 8 on his big board before you get to a Southeastern Conference name. It's Travis Hunter at 1, Abdul Carter from Penn State at 2, Mason Graham, defensive tackle from Michigan at 3, Ashton Genty, star running back from Boise at 4, Shedeur Sanders, quarterback from Colorado at 5, Cam Ward, quarterback Miami at 6, Tyler Warren, tight end from Penn State at 7, and you get to 8 with Jalen Walker of Georgia. Incidentally, the second SEC name on the list is at number 10. That is Will Campbell, offensive tackle out of LSU. Will Campbell is going to be a fascinating piece to this draft puzzle as we get closer, because there are some that think he's a top 3 pick at left tackle. There are some that think he's a top 10 pick at tackle. There are some think he's a top 15 pick who's a guard. And it's just going to be a beauty is in the eye of the beholder thing. I firmly believe when you look at the analyst's opinion of Will Campbell, I think it probably is reflected in the NFL. I think there are probably a handful of NFL, maybe more NFL teams that would look at Will Campbell and say, that guy's a franchise left tackle. I would take him with the 4th pick if I had it. I think there are probably some NFL teams that go, didn't love the run blocking, arms are a little bit short, that's a guard. Yeah, top 15 pick. I'd take him at 13 if he was there, but I'm not taking him at 4. I think there are probably both camps, very prevalent. And so we're going to get to see how all this turns out. I'm curious to see how much Will Campbell does at a combine or a pro day. Like, that's a lot of tape of Will Campbell playing. I can't imagine there are NFL teams that want to learn a lot more about Will Campbell physically after watching the tape. You just don't see a lot of linemen who step in day one in the SEC and play at left tackle. You don't see a lot at defensive tackle either. You don't see a lot at edge rusher. But Will Campbell's one of those guys. And he didn't miss any time. He played every game. So if you're looking for information on Will Campbell, all you got to do is turn the tape on. And I'll tell you this, and I've said this multiple times previously. When Will Campbell gets in those interview rooms, he's going to crush it. I know there are LSU fans that probably bristle about we're going to run the ball and we don't care who knows it. It's not a secret. We're going to run the football that he said in August leading up to the USC game, and you'll cringe at that, and that's fine. LSU didn't run the football great. We all know that. But I think there are NFL teams that are going to like that. Going to like that edge. And they're certainly going to like, and I'm just going off what I know about Will Campbell, which is the public interviews that we did in the midweek between games, where LSU loses the game to Alabama and loses the game to Florida, and he comes in and it's like, job's not done. Like, going 8-4 is a heck of a lot better than 6-6. That's what we're focused on. We got to win. And he went out there and they went 8-4. They won their last 2 games. They didn't play in the bowl game, but there's some bigger fish to fry here than the Texas Bowl. So I feel like I'm going to bump Will Campbell back a little bit in any draft situation that I'm looking at, because I always think that quarterbacks are going to be people falling all over themselves to get up into the top to take some quarterback. That's just the way the draft generally works. But I feel like Will Campbell's going to be a top 10 pick, and I'm just curious to see what organization takes him and what their vision is for him. Because as of, 8 months ago, when we were right there leading up to the season, like, I certainly never saw anyone suggesting he was a guard. All I knew was he was one of the top 2 tackles in college football alongside Texas's Kelvin Banks. Incidentally, I'm looking at the big board to see. I do not see. Yeah, here, 23. So Mel Kiper's got Campbell considerably higher up on the board than Kelvin Banks. He's also got Campbell ahead of Josh Simmons, the offensive tackle for Ohio State. So he's got him as the number 1 offensive tackle. We'll see if a team agrees with that somewhere over the course of the top 10. Campbell has been invited to the NFL draft. It's at Lambeau. The early reports are that they're not going to have like 31 guys back there at the draft in the green room this year. That can get a little bit awkward. They're going to try to keep it to closer to 8 to 10 players, and Campbell has gotten that invite. I think if it's like in New York City, that's a slam dunk for me to go to that. Green Bay, like, I loved my time in Green Bay just going to see Lambeau Field, and I'm sure they'll have an incredible setup outdoors for the draft. And Green Bay in April is probably, pretty chilly but pretty pleasant. But I don't know that there's a lot to do there other than walk across the stage. So I don't know if I would go or not to Green Bay. We'll see what Will Campbell decides to do, but it sounds like he's in pretty good shape to be a really, really high pick in this coming draft. Mel Kiper has him as the best offensive lineman, period, on the board. Offensive tackle, number 10 player overall on his latest big board. We'll see if any of that shakes up as the combine unfolds later on this week. If you're looking for combine information, you can go to LouisianaSports.net. Ross Jackson has got you covered. He is in Indianapolis, going to have all of our coverage anchored from there. So check it out at LouisianaSports.net. As always, completely and totally free. I've got some pieces up on the homepage of the site right now. I've got a story up about LSU's 4 freshman pitchers and what Jay Johnson's had to say about them through 2 weeks and why I think they may already be the most reliable relief pitchers on the staff. I've got my pregame story for LSU in Tennessee. Chris Marlar's got some thoughts on the SEC basketball games today and tomorrow. There's some Saints coaching information. Matt Moscona's got a column up about Chris Paul going back to New Orleans. Taryn Armstead is setting up for retirement. Ross has written that as well. So all your Louisiana sports, all in one place, LouisianaSports.net, all for free. Go ahead and check that out if you've got some time. We get the numbers every day, and we really appreciate you all for going in the numbers that you are. It's been really, really humbling to see the type of traction we've gotten already on the site. So thrilled about that. Continue to go, LouisianaSports.net. When we come back, Sharie Aack, WDSU down in New Orleans next.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Genesis of Baton Rouge. GenesisofBatonRouge.com is the website. How about a 10-year, 100,000-mile warranty? That's how Genesis of Baton Rouge rolls. How about 3 years of complimentary maintenance? That's how Genesis of Baton Rouge rolls. How about 3 years of complimentary maintenance that's valet? That's how Genesis of Baton Rouge rolls. Every single model in the Genesis line, from the entry level to the highest end, comes with the same safety features. The entire line was given the IIHA top safety picks. Some of them were top safety picks plus. It's stylish, it's sleek, it's comfortable, it's safe, it's got all the bells and whistles that you need, and it comes at a reasonable price. It's Genesis. They're at GenesisofBatonRouge.com. You can see them Airline Highway at Pico, right across from Women's Hospital. Give them a try. You may have never been by. You may not even know the dealership was there. They hadn't been there that long, so that's okay. Go by and see them at Genesis of Baton Rouge. You can start your process online today at GenesisofBatonRouge.com.
At Atmos Energy, our Smart Choice solutions help customers save energy and emissions with rebates up to $500 off high-efficiency natural gas appliances, smart thermostats, and weatherization upgrades. Together, we're fueling our energy future.
Looking for the ultimate game day experience? Come to the Queen Casino in Baton Rouge. Savor game day platters and snacks, plus drink specials at 1717 Kitchen and Cocktail. So come out for game day and let our team make you the MVP. The Queen Casino, where every moment is a win.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary, for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected. Supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team. And backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
Crime has serious consequences, but anyone can make a mistake. If you find yourself in trouble with the law, know that you have rights, and it's okay to demand them. The law offices of O.C. Brown are here to protect you and your rights. Felony or misdemeanor, DUI or drug charge. No matter what crime you're accused of, you still have rights. Let the law offices of O.C. Brown uphold them. Call 225-343-1111. Your law firm for a lifetime.
Jerry and Benny Payne began Central Plumbing Company out of their driveway in Tanglewood subdivision. 50 years later and 4 generations down the road, we continue to serve Baton Rouge and the surrounding areas for all of their plumbing needs. Residential, commercial, industrial, or hospitality, Central Plumbing is here 24/7, 365.
We want to thank our customers, family, and friends for 50 years of success.
And looking forward to 50 more.
At Auctioner, we know healing is a team sport. That's why we've partnered with world-renowned orthopedic surgeon Dr. James Andrews to create the Auctioner Andrews Orthopedics and Sports Medicine Institute. Whether you're a professional athlete or a weekend warrior, our team of specialists are dedicated to getting you back in the game. So whatever your reasons are for reaching your personal best, we've only got one: you.
This is the Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN, Baton Rouge.
Sharie Aack, our boots on the ground in New Orleans. Every week on Tuesdays, he stops by, does so now on the Jim's Farms hotline. Sharie, how are we doing?
Lovely. I just left Baton Rouge a second ago.
What were you doing in Baton Rouge? It's carnival time in New Orleans. Everybody's supposed to be just all over the place all week long.
Carly McCord's mom, Karen McCord, was doing the book launch for Only Rainbows. So we were there. Me and Moscona were there, and Gordy Rush were there earlier this morning.
I'm well aware of that, and I appreciate you being there. That's an awesome thing that Miss Karen is doing in Carly's memory there. So cool that you were there to make that happen. Tell us about tonight in the Smoothie King Center. Chris Paul comes back with the Spurs. Maybe it's not a story at all, but it could be his last time in uniform in the Smoothie King Center. What's the temperature of that whole situation with Chris Paul and the New Orleans franchise?
I think it's so overblown and so old at this point. I mean, I get it. Last game, last chance to see him in the Smoothie King Center as a member of another team. I just think that storyline is completely overblown at this point. I just don't think fans dislike him as much as they used to dislike him whenever he first left the franchise. I think, the disdain for him was for a few years. And some people didn't even ever dislike him, Some people think that, he pulled the card of I got to leave, I want to leave whenever he wanted to stay, but ownership was in such flux whenever he left. They were just it was a disaster. I mean, with George Shinn, the NBA, I think he never wanted to leave. It's just like the way it happened. It just seemed like it was all on him to leave.
Do you think they'll retire his number one day?
Yeah, I do. I really do think they'll retire his number. They should. Rightfully so. The number 3 should be in the rafters of the Smoothie King Center. There's no doubt about it. I have no issues with Chris Paul's number being in the Smoothie King Center. It should be the next one, easily.
Is there anybody else who's even in consideration at this point?
Oh, man, not really.
Yeah, I mean it seems like it's kind of him.
Be the only one. It'd be kind of him, and then I just don't think the way that things ended with Anthony Davis, I just don't see them retiring his number. That's never going to happen. That went sideways for a different reason. Not like Chris. Chris didn't want to leave. Anthony wanted to leave and forced his way out. So no.
All right, interesting. Let's talk some Saints here. Sharie Aack is our guest from WDSU down in New Orleans. The coaching staff is essentially complete. Your kind of big picture thoughts on Kellen Moore's assembled team here?
I like what they've done, for the most part. I know, like, Staley's going to run his system, 3-4 system. It's going to be a little different from what they're used to running under their, Dennis Allen and quite a few other, coordinators before. It was Dennis Allen and Rob Ryan, excuse me, get the Ryans confused. But I mean, it's different, but, different could be good to run a 3-4, but it's just having the right personnel, which they're going to have to address in the draft. I mean, I don't think they have enough they don't have enough linebackers to run a 3-4. I mean, they can move some pieces around, but it's not something that I generally think is going to work with some of the pieces that they have already on his team. But I like him. I mean, Doug Nussmeier, his background, some of the other offense. Bringing Joel Thomas back, we talked about it last week, I thought was really big. But I just think some of the pieces they brought in as a whole, are good. I mean, I like it. I like some of the moves. Even bringing in Terry Joseph. I mean, he's worked with some, high caliber players in the college game. And that'll be, a chance for him to come on over and translate it to the NFL, because this will be his first NFL job. And, he was a better baseball player. I mean, he went to Shaw where I went to high school.
Yep.
We're separated by 8 years. So, he has some knowledge to pass down in the NFL game. So I think what they've done is smart. Now, it's going to take some time, Hunt, regardless of this year or 2 years from now. It's going to take some time.
They got to make a decision on Derek Carr in the next 20 days or so. Maybe not even that much. But how quick do you think that decision could come?
I think it may be like that week leading into the league's new year, which is like what, March 12th, 13th,
14th,
2 days. Yeah, it's like was it like a Friday, Thursday this year?
Well, his deal, it's 2 days after the league year starts, that $30 million roster guarantee comes in, so it's the 14th is essentially the deadline.
Yeah, I'd say that week, between Monday and Thursday that week. That'd just be my gut feeling, is that they make a move on it. I just don't think he's going to come back. I mean, it's not Kellen Moore's quarterback. That's not the guy he handpicked. That was Dennis's quarterback. So I think, and my gut says they're going to be moving on.
Is there any chance they can trade him? There's a market that seems to be heating up for Matt Stafford. There are multiple teams that are in it. I made the case in the first segment of my show today. The second segment of my show today, I was like, they're not that different. Did we lose Sharif?
No, I got you, hon.
Hey,
I got you.
Is there any chance they can trade him?
There's always a chance. Look, if there's a team like the Giants, who need a quarterback, obviously, and they don't. Maybe they do draft one, but need somebody to have him sit behind for a little while. Maybe you get the Giants. You got desperate teams. I don't know if the Raiders are going to take him back. That's another team. It's tough for him to go back there. There might be another desperate team or two that we don't know about that might draft a young quarterback but need like a veteran there. Maybe they give up a 5th round pick or something. I mean, better than nothing, right? You're going to cut them flat out. At least you get a pick back, even if it's a 4th, 5th, 6th round pick. Better than nothing.
Well, look, Mickey Loomis said he'll take all the draft picks in his press conference, so we know that he'll definitely take more draft picks if he can get them. I said that a little bit tongue-in-cheek. Let's see if they can make that happen. I'm curious your thoughts on potential other quarterbacks that could be brought in, or do you think they just roll with Rattler, Haener, and somebody that's way down the line that would be just like a camp body?
I would not rule out like a Justin Fields.
Okay.
Get him a dual threat quarterback, kind of like what they're running there in Philly with Jalen Hurts. Could cost a little bit of money, but if you're getting rid of Carr, not going to have much money, but at least you'll have some freed up if you post it a certain way and get that money back. But at least I would go with Justin Fields. Maybe they trade for like a late round pick for Kenny Pickett because he coached him as well. But those are like the two names that stand out to me. I wouldn't go Flacco. You need to get guys who can move the pocket a little bit. So first two names that jump out to me are Justin Fields and Kenny Pickett. Maybe as a gap quarterback until next year. And maybe it works with one of those two guys. But I think long term they need to find a quarterback.
What are the odds you think that the Saints completely bottom out this year and they're terrible and they get a top 3, 4 pick for next year?
I think everyone would want that, but I just don't think they have enough. They have too much talent to bottom out, in my opinion. I felt like they bottomed out with 5 wins this year. Can they go below 5 wins? Plus the other teams around them that are probably worse than them that can go even lower. I think maybe their bottom is 5 again. That's not really bottoming out, as you see. That's getting on the 9th pick. They need to get into the top 3 if they want a Nussmeier next year. So, and that would be a crazy scenario to have he and his dad in the same.
That would be nuts.
It would be nuts. His draft stock is going to shoot up if we see what he did against Baylor, moving the pocket and him being able to use his feet a little bit more. That might be the type of quarterback that Kellen Moore is looking for in his system. So they would have to certainly really bottom out. I don't even know if Arch is going to come out next year. He may stay all his years just like his uncles and his uncles did. So, you're going to bottom out, make sure you bottom out the right way. I think that Garrett Nussmeier is going to be there.
We won't dive too deep into this part of it, but it's about that time, certainly as the Combine shows up. Is there not necessarily a player, is there a position you like for the Saints to address first, or is it just get the best player you can possibly get?
Man, people hate my opinion on this, but I like Tatoria McMillan from Arizona, the receiver, big body receiver. They need playmakers. I know everyone's like, well, they need edge rushers. They need
everything.
Line. Haven't they addressed that since 2015 in the first round of every draft, with the exception of 2019 because they didn't have a first-round pick? But in the second round, they took Eric McCoy. They're constantly drafting O-line and D-line. Give me some playmakers. Get me out there. Get Tatoria McMillan. You know what? I wouldn't even be mad if they took Ashton Jeanty to give Alvin Kamara some help. I know that's not a thing you should do, a running back in the top 10, but Jeanty has a chance to be really good, and he has that connection with Kellen Moore and Boise State. So, I personally am going playmaker. I don't care if it's Ty Warren. I don't care if it's Tatoria McMillan. I don't even care if it's Ashton Jeanty.
Hey, that's fun. That's more fun for us to talk about than they continue to take interior linemen, which just aren't as much fun to generally talk about. They're very important, just not as fun to talk about. So we'll see. What's your Mardi Gras looking like? You working too much? Or you going to get out to the parades?
My time to go is this weekend. I'm always off Saturday, Sunday, Monday. So it's Iris, Tux, and then Endymion, and then Sunday. Bacchus Sunday is always the best with Toth and then Bacchus.
I agree. I will not be doing any of that. I'll be in Frisco, Texas. We think for watching some baseball. But I hope y'all have a wonderful weekend. And are you available next Tuesday on Fat Tuesday? Or are you working?
No, I'm working. I'll be in the Marinee dressed up doing Mardi Gras coverage from 6:30 to 6:30.
Okay.
So you might have to wait till Wednesday to talk to me.
We'll postpone it a day and let you get some work done. But enjoy all that. We'll talk next week.
All right, Hunt.
Sharie Aack, WDSU down in New Orleans, our New Orleans correspondent, talking Chris Paul, Saints, and Mardi Gras, as New Orleanians would do. Let's come back and close it out next.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Audio Video Security Solutions, avssla.com is the website. Weather's going to warm up. It's going to be that time of year. We love to get outside, crawfish boils, open the pools up, hang out, listen to some LSU baseball, watch some LSU baseball. If you spend some time outdoors and spend all that time listening to music on your phone or on some speaker you got to plug in somewhere, just get it all wired. Get Mitchell Fisher and his team to come out, survey your space, give you a budget, and he'll provide the equipment. They'll come wire for surround sound, put your television up there. They'll get the app installed so you can control all of it, volume, channels, all that right there on the touch of a button by your phone. It's all so easy. They've done it at the Palmer House. They can do it for you. So you want to spend more time outside this spring and summer, Mitchell Fisher and his team at Audio Video Security Solutions are the number you need to call. This is his cell phone number. That's the beauty of this entire thing. You're getting the owner of the company's cell phone number. He's your point person for the project. It's 225-439-7920. Again, 225-439-7920. It's Audio Video Security Solutions online, avssla.com.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary, for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected. Supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
You gotta believe in a dream. Believe. You gotta believe in a dream. Believe. You gotta believe. My whole team on wild.
Crime has serious consequences, but anyone can make a mistake. If you find yourself in trouble with the law, know that you have rights, and it's okay to demand them. The law offices of O.C. Brown are here to protect you and your rights. Felony or misdemeanor, DUI or drug charge. No matter what crime you're accused of, you still have rights. Let the law offices of O.C. Brown uphold them. Call 225-343-1111. Your law firm for a lifetime.
Jerry and Benny Payne began Central Plumbing Company out of their driveway in Tanglewood subdivision. 50 years later and 4 generations down the road, we continue to serve Baton Rouge and the surrounding areas for all of their plumbing needs. Residential, commercial, industrial, or hospitality, Central Plumbing is here 24/7, 365.
We want to thank our customers, family, and friends for 50 years of success.
And looking forward to 50 more.
At Auctioner, we know healing is a team sport. That's why we've partnered with world-renowned orthopedic surgeon Dr. James Andrews to create the Auctioner Andrews Orthopedics and Sports Medicine Institute. Whether you're a professional athlete or a weekend warrior, our team of specialists are dedicated to getting you back in the game. So whatever your reasons are for reaching your personal best, we've only got one: you. Auctioner Andrews Institute. Long live you.
There's never been a better time to catch a John Deere deal from the crew of Sunshine. Ask us about our low monthly payment options on our tractor packages and let the good times roll. With equipment strong enough to power one of the world's largest celebrations, we've got your needs covered too. Learn more about what it means to be powered by Sunshine at sunequip.com. Some restrictions apply. See dealer for details.
This is the Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN, Baton Rouge.
Wrapping things up, Tuesday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show. Tomorrow's show is absolutely loaded. We will have a reaction to LSU and Tennessee on the hardwood. We will have Koki Riley from Dallas getting ready for LSU and DBU. We will have Matthew Bruni talking hoops. We will have What If Wednesday. We will have SEC Baseball Power Rankings. Lots and lots to do on tomorrow's show, so very much looking forward to that. Want to read about LSU and Tennessee on the hardwood tonight. I got a preview of it at LouisianaSports.net right now, and I'll have a post game up this evening. If you are not headed to LSU and Tennessee tonight and you're looking for something to do this evening, sports trivia back in action. We are at Pizza by Roan's on Perkins. Had our first kind of trial run last week, see how that would go. Went great. Appreciate you all for coming out and seeing us. So if you'd like to come, we're going to be watching LSU and Tennessee on the TV. Going to be winning some gift cards, eating some pizza. They got wings as well, cold drinks. It's a good time. So we're on Perkins Road at Pizza by Roan's. New start time. 10 years. I've been at 8:30 at Pluckers forever and ever and ever. We're moving it up 30 minutes. We're going 8 o'clock at Pizza
good.
Byron.
You know, get a little start a little earlier. You don't have to get out of there at 11 o'clock or whatever
Exactly.
it is.
We've never ate at 11 o'clock, but closer to 10.
Yeah.
We're going to be closer to 9 getting out this time around. So if you want to come out to Sports Trivia, come on out at 8 o'clock, Pizza Byron's tonight on Perkins for some sports trivia. You can win some gift cards. Always a good time. So wanted to get that out there on this Tuesday. We got one more order of business that, of course, is Take It or Leave It.
Take it or leave it.
Take it or leave it.
Today's hottest stories in sports, news, and sometimes even Hunt's life. The question is, will he take them or leave them?
All right, first one here. Luka and the Lakers take on the Mavs tonight. Luka over 45 points. Take it or leave it.
I will leave it at 45. That's a little rich.
That's a lot.
I would have to strongly consider it at the 40 point.
I would.
And I think triple-double is very likely.
Yes.
The fact that the attack the Mavericks made was on his effort, not like on his shooting ability or like something that's a little less controllable. Just effort is what they were getting at. Well, he can turn the effort up today.
He can.
He can crank the effort up today. And there are a few people on the planet, probably like 10 of them, that when they really try, there's really not much you can do. He's one of them. So
yeah.
I think the Mavs are in some trouble tonight. We'll see how that goes. But yeah, I can't go over 45, but I would strongly consider it 40. I'll go just under.
All right, next one here. Going to a baby consignment event. Take it or leave it.
I'm not sure I can tell you exactly what consignment means. I think it's stuff that's being sold for a second time or something.
That is correct.
Is that right?
That is, yes. Consignment usually means that it is a secondhand good.
If you can tell how many things I've purchased for my child based on that exact comment, you are correct. I've never purchased him an article of clothing. I've never bought a bottle. I've never bought a blanket or a bottle cleaner. I've never bought sheets. I never bought anything.
Well,
really.
You are buying all these things.
Yes, I've never personally purchased any of them.
Yes,
I've purchased groceries.
Yes,
a lot, and I've done a lot of using all the things that I have not purchased. But yeah, I don't even know what things cost. I don't know where you get them, and if you get them at a consignment event, sounds good to me. I know that my wife is on some sort of Facebook group with people and they resell stuff, and she gets like a package with like 10 shirts in it at a time that apparently are very cheap. I don't know anything about it. It's not my department. She handles it. So you'll just have to see where your role is, Beck. How do you envision that going?
Yeah, I'm going to learn my role, Hunt. As they say, you have to know your role. It's very important to know your role on a team. So I think I'm going to learn that.
Who's in charge of what your role is, you or her?
That's a good question. I don't know.
I think that gives you your answer right there.
Yeah,
you're not in control.
It's probably not me. Yes.
You're not. Did you just do what you're told?
Usually, yes, for the most part.
Good soldier. That's how you handle things.
All right. Next one. Falcons general manager Terry Fontenot and coach Raheem Morris said Tuesday at the NFL Combine that the team was unaware that Kirk Cousins was dealing with an injury late in the 2024 season. Not knowing your quarterback is hurt. Take it or leave it.
Going to leave that one. I think that's some information that probably needs to be brought to your attention, and probably was. I guess we're to believe that Kirk Cousins just didn't tell anyone that he was hurt.
I guess.
Is that what we're doing here?
I mean, I don't understand how
he got benched.
Yeah. So, but you know, the team has doctors. They have trainers. Are they not like looking
and
at?
This like furthers my point, like that maybe Derek Carr is in fact tradable, because the Falcons were like tripping over themselves to go get Kirk Cousins, who was coming off an Achilles injury and couldn't even play. And Derek Carr can still play a little bit. So I feel like somebody might want it. It's possible.
It's possible.
Lloyd Christmas, you're telling me there's a chance.
You're telling me there's a
chance.
chance.
And I don't believe there's a chance that the Falcons didn't know Kirk Cousins' medical status.
Yeah, I don't believe that.
Like, did he like take some practices off? We didn't tell any of the doctors anything. Nobody's communicating anything to anybody. Kirk Cousins just keeping a secret. None of that tracks for me.
All right, next one, staying with the NFL, the Tennessee Titans have voiced their opinion on Travis Hunter, saying that they think he could play and excel on offense and defense in the NFL. Travis Hunter playing both ways in the NFL. Take it or leave it.
I'm going to take that. And here's
I'll take
why.
it.
because we are seeing more people willing to do some more things, and I point directly kind of like at Shohei Ohtani.
Yeah.
But, like, I think that just is kind of happening more and more in sports. Like, I feel like Taysom Hill is a little bit of that. I feel like people are a little more open to hybrid role players. Now, you have to determine what's best for your team and how much he helps on both sides, how much playing both sides hurts one side or the other. Like, all those things are reasonable to look at, but, like, you've got some two-way baseball players. Like, Michael Lorenzen's a two-way baseball player that no one ever talks about. Like, he's mainly a pitcher, but he does pinch hit some and do a little bit of that. If you just want him to play a little bit on defense or want him to take a drive here and a drive there, like, I don't – maybe that's the way he plays offense. I don't know what the primary spot is for him, but, like, I think we're more open to that than we were 10 years ago.
Yeah, it's just, sports, all sports, major sports, everybody, it's a copycat league. Teams copy off what other teams do.
How many, like, defensive guys come in and, like, are a lead blocker in goal line and stuff?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it happens that often, but we do see it sometimes. But it's just, whenever teams are willing to try different things or try to
use your athletes.
Yeah, go out there and try something different, and it might work. And if it does, then you've created a trend. So, last one, real quick. Apparently, Rob Gronkowski is contemplating returning to the NFL. Take it or leave it.
Leave it alone. No, he's been out forever. Just go do TV. You're good at that. People think you're funny. Do social media. Hang out with Camille. All good. Doesn't need to play football anymore.
Yeah,
his body was breaking down at the end. He's so big and lumbering. Like, he's going to take so many hits. That's just a terrible idea. You got the ultimate golden ticket because you played with Brady forever. Just use that as your NFL career and go do other stuff. Apparently, him and Edelman always show up in my Instagram reels because they're hilarious together.
Apparently, Sean Payton and the Denver Broncos potential landing spot.
No, they got Adam Troutman. It's all good. They love Troutman.
They got the Fishman.
Troutman's been fantastic. Got to go with Trout. That's it for Take It or Leave It. That's it for us here on this Tuesday. If you missed any of the show, you can always catch it on demand. 1045ESPN.com's on-demand tab, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google, wherever you find your sound. You can always find us. Just search Hunt Palmer Show. Basketball, Hoops with Hunt. Saints, Hunt on Saints. LSU, Hunt on LSU. That's going to drive you home on AFR. We're back tomorrow. Hope to see you at Sports Trivia. If not, same time, same place on the Hunt Palmer Show.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
At Atmos Energy, our smart choice solutions help customers save energy and emissions with rebates up to $500 off high-efficiency natural gas appliances, smart thermostats, and weatherization upgrades. Together, we're fueling our energy future.
The Windsor Senior Living Community in Mandeville, Louisiana is a beautiful, vibrant apartment community geared towards seniors. They are nestled right in the heart of Mandeville, where